Good morning and welcome to the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. It's September. We almost made it through the hot summer. I think we're going to have another hot one today. But it's great to see those of you who showed up today. Thank you. Thank you for being safe. Thanks to all the volunteers who facilitated that safety. Thanks to the viewers tuning in. And a special welcome to those who are, for the first time, joining us online today. Please remember the link after this service is a live chat with our dear Reverend Myrna Hurst. They don't have an agenda. It's a way to connect and talk together. So take advantage of that if you'd like. For the month of September, we are talking about faith and fear. Not in that order. As usual, we have some music that is attuned to that theme, and we'll invite you to sing along with our opening song. We've got some really fun music and some very special music today, too. We have Kamrin Carver in the house for our message today. Hey, always such a special treat for us. Thank you, Kamrin, for being here. And my lovely wife, Shemaine, will share some special music. Really looking forward to that, too. So let's sing together our opening song. It's called Jump. Jump into Your Life.
By Rick Charette.
Yes, thank you. And abandon fear and strife. 2, 3, 4. I trust God in me. All of life is here for me. I take a leap of faith and see. All I want comes easily. I trust God in me. All of life is here for me. I take a leap of faith and see. All I want comes easily. I jump into my life, abandon fear and strife. Wake up my desire, jump into the fire. I'm flying higher. I trust God in me. All of life is here for me. I take a leap of faith and see. All I want comes easily. I trust God in me. All of life is here for me. I take a leap of faith and see. All I want comes easily. I into my life, abandon fear and strife. Wake up my desire, jump into the fire. I'm flying higher. I trust God in me. All of life is here for me. I take a leap of faith and see. All I want comes easily. I trust God in me. All of life is here for me. I take a leap of faith and see. All I want comes easily. I trust God in me.
All right. Good morning and welcome to the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Linda Brewer, and we are a spiritual community where all are welcome to be part of our virtual love streaming community, and up to 30 of you are welcome to join us right here in person. Our practitioner holding high watch from home this morning is Jim Ferris. Throughout the service, he will be in prayer, knowing that the best and highest is unfolding as we share this sacred time together. Our center is a spiritual community that teaches a philosophy for daily living based on spiritual principles and practices that are universal among religions. We honor every pathway by which people seek to know and connect with the divine, and we work on our individual consciousness so that we can help make the world a better place. So from wherever you are, I invite you to join me in saying with feeling our purpose statement. We are an open, welcoming community celebrating our divinity, loving our humanity, and nurturing our journeys of spiritual discovery. Thank you so much. And I hope we'll all look at those words and take them in and manifest them in our lives. So remember that for all the latest information on what's happening, or if you're new and want to find out more about our center, you can do that on our website, which is www.spirituallyfree.org. On our homepage, you can submit a prayer request, see what's coming up on Sundays, while elsewhere on the site, you can watch previous services, read bios of our speakers, our center leaders, and lots more. And our theme this month is Facing the Fear, and we're so blessed, as Rick said, to have Kamrin Carver back with us as our speaker. His topic is A Question of Faith. Next week, Reverend Myrna Hurst will be back to share her wisdom and joy with us. For all the details on today's announcements and lots more info than I have time to tell you about, please visit the announcements section of the website, which has the latest information about our center and what's going on here, what's happening with home office, and some other things from the greater Salt Lake community if they're relevant to us. And as Rick said, remember, if you're missing connecting with other folks, after the service at 1 o'clock today, you can join Reverend Myrna on Zoom to chat with others and enjoy interacting while you stay safe at home. Next week, September 13th, the Zoom chat will move back to 12:30, and there will be a new Zoom link for that, which you will find later this week on the website, and it will be in next week's newsletter. And our national spiritual leader, Reverend Edward Fillon, is doing a live interview on the Science of Mind magazine Facebook page with Deepak Chopra on 9/11 at 4 o'clock. And so that link and information is on the website on the announcements page. There is no area of life where we are not at times on a pathway of uncertainty. And these days, I think that has intensified for most of us. Instead of entering into a situation with trepidation and fear, we can learn to make a conscious choice to intentionally embrace and welcome this into our lives. Starting on Monday, September 14th at 5 p.m., Dennis Merritt Jones, who is a well-known author and motivational speaker, will be facilitating a 4-week Zoom class based on his book, The Art of Uncertainty, How to Live in the Mystery of Life and Love It. More information and how to register for that class is also in the classes section of the website. And if you are a would-be author and you're looking for how to publish your first book, Home Office has a class for that on Saturday, September 19th, to help bring your vision into expression. And that's on the website announcements page. This month's Wizard and Crone Zoom gathering is going to focus on visioning with special guest Jeff Ryan, who is the chair of the visioning team for Centers for Spiritual Living. Visioning is a wonderful spiritual practice and a great way to help envision what the new normal of our currently crazy world might look like as seen through the highest vision. So this will be on Tuesday, September 8th at noon. The Zoom link is on the Connect section of the website. There's a link to that on the homepage, and everyone is welcome to participate in that. And as I do when I'm here, I'd like to remind you that our center is founded on and grounded in prayer, which helps us deal with whatever comes our way and helps us create positive outcomes regardless of our situation. Our professional prayer practitioners are trained in the art and science of affirmative prayer, and they are so ready to pray for you and with you. There's a link on the homepage to send us a prayer request. If you do that, it'll get sent out to all the practitioners, and they'll be praying for you all week. And if you'd like to really participate in that prayer with a practitioner, just note that in your request. One of the practitioners will call you and pray with you on the phone. So we miss being up front and praying with you all in person, and we look forward to the day when we can safely do that again. But for now, I hope you'll at least let us talk with you on the phone. And so now I invite you to settle in, allow Pharaoh's reading and the centering music to take you to that sacred space within as we prepare for Pharaoh to lead us in prayer.
Today's reading is from This Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes. Today I realize that the Spirit incarnated in me, God, as my own being, constitutes the only reality I have. I'm going to read that line again because it takes some comprehension. Today I realize that the Spirit incarnated in me, God, as the only being, constitutes the only reality I have. Today I am opening my consciousness to a realization of the living Christ, the eternal sonship of the everlasting Father. I know that He dwells in me, and I know that there is an invisible guide, a living presence with me at all times. With complete simplicity and directness, I recognize my divine center. There is one life in and through all. Consciously, I unify myself with this pure spirit in which I live, move, and have my being. I am strong with the strength of the all-vitalizing power of spirit. I am sustained by divine energy which flows through me as radiant health and vitality. Every atom of my being responds to this divine presence. I completely surrender myself to it.
I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am stronger every moment, every day. My mind is willing and my heart is open wide. I trust my instincts and let Spirit be my guide. I vow to live a life that's real and true and free. As I continue walking in this mystery, I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am grateful every moment, every day. Yes, I am grateful every moment, every day.
Knowing that there is only one life, one consciousness, one infinite intelligence that is the very essence of a life force that flows through each one of us, I unite with that force and allow it to prompt me and guide each and every person who is gathered here together today. In that gratitude for this knowledge. I call for awareness, consciousness, health, and well-being for each and every one of us. I call for open-mindedness to listen and receive the message that is delivered today. And I give gratitude, great gratitude, that we have this place where we can join together and celebrate the truths that we hear in this place. And so in that gratitude, I release these words into the law, knowing they are acted upon and delivered at this very moment, as together we say, and so it is.
So how do you come to believe something? How do you set your values? How do you show that you align with those things? How do you prove your integrity? Not that you have to prove it to anybody else, but isn't it important to prove it to yourself? What you believe, what's important to you? I think that taking action is a powerful way to prove things to yourself. You get to practice those things, and that is what helps build the faith. Of course, thoughts and prayers are important, but moving our feet, as we say, in the direction of the things that we desire and choose to believe builds that faith. So I chose this song for us to sing together. It's a song by Matthew West. He's a Christian songwriter, so I tweaked some of the words just so it fit a little bit better with our philosophy, but I invite you to sing along. It's called Do Something. We're talking about taking the action to prove our faith and build our integrity. Do something.
I woke up this morning, saw a world full of trouble now. I thought, how'd we ever get so far down? How's it ever gonna turn around? So I turned my mind to spirit. I thought, God, why don't you do something? Just couldn't bear the thought of people living in poverty, children sold into slavery. Thought disgusted me, so I shook my fist at heaven. I said, God, why don't you do something? I heard a voice, I did, yeah. I created you. If not us, then who? If not me, then you. Right now, it's time for us to do something. Yeah, yeah. If not now, then when? We will see an end to all this pain. It's not enough to just imagine. It's time for us to do something. I'm so tired of talking about how we are God's hands and feet. It's easier to say than be, to live in such complacency. We tell ourselves it's alright, somebody else will do something. Well, I don't know about you, but I want to feed this holy fire. I want to soak this inner fire, walk the walk that lifts us higher. I want to be someone who stands up, says I'm gonna do something. If not us, then something. If not now, then when? We will see an end to all this pain. It's not enough to just imagine. It's time for us to do something. We are the salt of the earth. We are a city on a hill. We're never gonna change ourselves by standing still. No, we won't stand still. No, we won't stand still. No, we won't stand still. Yeah. If not us and who? If not me and you. Right now, it's time for us to do something. If not now, then when? We will see an end to all this pain. It's not enough to just imagine. It's time for us to do something. It's time for us to do something. It's time for us to do something. Yeah.
Thank you. It's my privilege to introduce our special music today. This is always so hard to introduce your spouse. What I know about Shemaine, what I've come to know so clearly, the things that she chooses to sing and express come from an authentic place. The emotion that she shows when she sings a song is absolutely authentic. It is attuned to her integrity and her beliefs, her faith. I so appreciate that. There's nothing presentational about Shemaine singing a song. She just lives it. And in that wonderful present moment that we get to enjoy, it's just blissful. I'm so lucky to have this woman in my life, and every day, again and again, I fall in love with her. Shemaine Charette.
Thank you. So sweet. This song is called The Breakup Song, and I'm breaking up with fear. I kind of wish we had more than one word for fear, because it's not the kind that's the natural physiological signal that you might be in danger, there might be a boundary you might want to consider setting. This is the kind of fear that you kind of have to get mad at and talk back to. And the nice thing about personifying something like fear is that you can talk back to it. So here we go. This is called The Breakup Song. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Had as much of you as I can take. I'm so done, so tired of being afraid. I've been through the motions, I've been back and forth. I know what you're thinking, you've heard this before. I don't know how to say it, so I'm just gonna say it, yeah. Fear you don't own me, there ain't no room in this story. I ain't got time for you telling me who I am like you know me. Well, guess what? I know who I am. Oh, I am strong and I am free, got my own identity. So fear you saw it coming. Something's gotta give, so I give up you. Whoa. There's no room for you here, yeah, I've had enough. No vacancy sign in my heart ain't lit up. If you don't know how to say it, well, here it is again. Fear you don't own me. There ain't no room in this story. And I ain't got time for you telling me what I'm not, like you know me. Well, guess what? I know who I am. Oh, I am strong and I am free. Got my own identity. So fear you will never be welcome here. Is there anybody out there just like me? Anybody needing fear to leave? If you don't know how to say it, sing along with me. Sing, fear you don't own me. There ain't no room in this story. And I ain't got time for you telling me what I'm not, like you know me. Well, guess what? I know who I am. Oh, I am strong and I am free. Got my own identity. So fear you will never be welcome here. Whoa. Goodbye, goodbye, fear. Whoa. You will never be welcome here. Thank you. Thank you.
Kamrin first joined the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living in 2004. Though he's been MIA for a few years, we're grateful that he's been back with us this year speaking. Back in the day, he was a member of the Core Council, served the community as a practitioner, and was just the most incredible, amazing youth leader. I mean, the kids just loved Kamrin, and we had a boatload of them when he was here. He now serves a different community as the clinical director of Mindful Life Recovery Center in North Salt Lake, and he has his own private practice as well. He speaks throughout the country on trauma, addiction, and the impact of mental health issues on traumatized individuals, couples, and families. He's raising 2 teenagers at home while his oldest son is serving our country as a U.S. Marine. In his spare time, which boggles my mind to think that he has any of that, Kamrin finds joy in officiating weddings and exploring the many joys of hiking, rock climbing, meditation, and yoga. With all that he has going on in his life, we're really grateful that he's making time for us to be one of our regular speakers. Please welcome Kamrin Carver.
I got choked up when she was talking about my son in the Marines. Just imagining, him here. He would always sit front row with my other 2 kids and my dog. And it's weird not to have them here. But at the same time, being able to stand here and see who is here after so many months of speaking here without this shining love back at me, it's amazing how much of a difference it makes to have this back in my life. And I know you guys all feel this too. Being in each other's presence is so healing. We don't realize that we're missing it until we have it back. And then like water on parched soil, there it is. Hearing Rick's voice whenever he talks, it's like, I just love that voice. And then Shemaine, your song today, set up my talk so perfectly. And watching you just dance around in all of your glory makes this so much fun for me. So thanks for setting that up. Today's topic, like they said, is faith. a question of faith. Now, I could have gone a million directions with faith. It's such a vast well of, like going down the rabbit hole. There's just all these directions you can take it. But for me, I tend to lean more towards the clinical side of things. Like, why do we work this way? How does science of mind blend with what I know of, empirical studies on, that kind of therapeutic intervention? So I decided to go with positive and negative applications of faith. Because what that means for me is that I get to talk about how we use this power all the time. I'm just not here to talk about like how we use it to get what we want. I'm not just here to talk about how we use it to get good things. I'm here to say this power is working all the time. And guess what? Whether you choose to use it or not, consciously, it's being used all day, every day. So I want to just kind of guide you through the few of the things that this talk will not be about. Most of us, when we start out or listen to a talk that has to do with faith, we'll throw up a quote or a scripture of something like this. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Great. That is really classic faith application. However, it doesn't seem to go so well when we try to apply it to things like war, or our favorite football team winning, or, on a little bit more serious side, even people when they're sick. We can throw all the faith we want at these things, and it seems to go in 1,000 different directions. Now, I'm going to leave this to the experts, the pastors and the ministers and the people who have done their whole life work to get themselves clear enough to deliver a message like that, because that's more global, that's bigger. I'm going to focus small. I'm going to go to our own internal world. Because believe it or not, and whether we choose to admit it or not, the faith that I'm going to be talking about today literally creates and destroys worlds. And not like the Avengers worlds or, Star Wars where, you got the Death Star. We are destroying our own worlds and creating our own worlds. The faith that we have inside of us literally has the ability to create life, to create relationships, to create love and abundance. And if we're using this faith in the way that gets us those results that we want, great. Otherwise, guess what happens? We go back to the default. I see this every day in the work that I do. When clients come to me and they sit down, almost instantly, I know what I'm in for because I can feel and gauge their level of faith. Now, I'm not telling them like, oh, you're a hopeless case because you have none. What I do is I cultivate faith first before I get into any other work with anybody. Because I know until that's in place, nothing I do is going to matter because that will always trump the day. And at the same time, they don't know I'm talking about faith. I can use words like hope and expectation and, like really make it look clinical and therapeutic. But at the end of the day, it's all spiritual. It's all metaphysical. And it's all what we gather here every week to perfect and to understand with even more clarity. Faith is not ego-driven, and I think this is really key to focus in on. Faith isn't that kind of person who, I'm in a residential treatment facility, right? And so I see people come in and out all the time. And when they're leaving, I get super, super nervous when the people say, oh, I got this. I got everything I need. I'm going to be just fine. You don't have to worry about me. And I get this look on my face like, oh, you're in for a ride. Because what I'm looking for is the people that say, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to hold to everything that you told me, and I'm going to hope that that works. That is where we see results. And I'm looking for that result in myself and for those that I'm facilitating this process with. Because faith isn't just about speaking. Faith, like Rick was saying earlier, is active. It's movement. It's energetic. Whether we're doing something in a conversation and moving energy that way, or whether we're actually out like making real noticeable changes in our lives, faith uses that as the avenue. We can talk all day long, but until feeling ignites our action, nothing happens, and we see no results. I'd like to invite everyone for just a minute to pause and reflect upon your own faith spectrum in this very moment. If you were to put your faith on a scale, the faith that's creating things that you want and the faith that's creating things that you don't want, I want you to just feel how that scale balances. Where does it go for you? For most people, it goes like this. The positive is far outweighed by the negative. And as frustrating as that is, it's natural. What I've learned through the studies that I've been through, it shows me that our brains are actually supposed to do this. So, to get down on ourselves or to think that we're broken or we're doing something wrong because this is what's happening is a fallacy. It's flawed. That's not true. It's not accurate. I don't know if anybody has seen this movie before, The Croods. Where the father says to his daughter, "Fear keeps us alive. Never not be afraid." Those are our ancestors. That's who made us. Literally, the people that survived were the ones who were the most anxious and neurotic. So what do you think got passed down to us? As a species, we're a mess because we look at a Facebook post like it's a saber-toothed tiger. Our entire physiological system wouldn't know the difference. It really wouldn't. And that's the problem, right? So that's what we're starting to get into, is that we're using our faith in the default mode. But now we have evolved so far beyond that as a species. We have a prefrontal cortex that's actually functioning. Well, if you're over 35 for a man and 30 for a woman. But for the most part, it's working. And now we can override predetermined systems if we want to. And I guess that's not true, because even if we want to, this thing is more powerful than any of us can really understand. So no matter how much we throw at it, it's going to win a lot of the time, but it doesn't have to win all of the time. And that's what we're talking about today. Actively working on faith doesn't just mean that we're going to have the outcomes that we want all the time. Emotional maturity and faith work hand in hand, knowing that I don't get to tell God like some demanding 5-year-old what is going to happen and how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. I get to do things in the manner in which I adhere to an existing law. Now, what's fascinating is that we are taking most of our cues from people who don't really understand how the law works. It's a lot like that little kid who thinks that just because they saw something on a movie where somebody had a cape and they were able to jump off of something and fly, doesn't mean that when they do it, it's going to work that way. But guess what? They can do that and then yell and curse at God because I broke my leg and I should have been able to fly. Well, you misapplied the principle. Right? And so many people are going around teaching people that they too can jump off roofs without, indicating that there's a green screen behind me and a fan blowing my hair and, things that you're not necessarily aware of, right? And so we're all in one way or another going around jumping off roofs, expecting to fly and blaming God for the law of gravity. Faith is not something that we get to bend to our will. And I think that's a really important concept to understand. When we look at faith, this is another quote that typically comes into play. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I just want to point out Hebrews 11:11. When I was studying to be a minister, that 11:11 thing made so much sense to me, because every time I see that on a clock, from the time I'd been in school as a little kid going to church, I would see that on a clock, and it would remind me to have faith. And I've been using that my whole life without really knowing, and until I prepared this talk, I was like, oh my gosh, that's probably why. Anyway, side note, in case anybody cares. But the thing is this quote is typically only used because we're using it in a positive direction, when in all actuality, it can be used in any direction. Anytime we see or use the word hope, we're typically thinking good things, happy things, things that we want. Hope is just expectation. It can equally be used to create what we don't want just as readily. Hope and expectation mean that if we go out into our lives and expect it's going to be hard and difficult, of course it is going to be hard and difficult. We don't apply this in the negative realm, but look how things can change if we do. We all know those people, or maybe we might be one of those people, that actively uses fear to create our future, anxiety and panic, to be hypervigilant, to see, what am I doing wrong? How am I messing things up? Like, how is this next big threat going to take me down? And what we don't realize is we're not victims of any of this. We're choosing it every single day. And get this, it's in a book somewhere. It's in a lot of books, but this is a fun book. The Four Agreements is a book that even in the center, I was able to run groups about and teach people about and learn so much in the process from going through that. But my favorite part was actually a lesson that I gained after I had run all those groups. And it came to me in the most serendipitous way. There's actually a proverbial universal 2x4 across the back of my head. But suffice it to say, this is the gentler way. Words are magic. Our words have so much power, we don't even realize it. Your words have the ability to transform your life and the life of others. Be impeccable with your word. Mean what you say and speak with intention. What this says to me is, every word I say has a creative potential behind it. And at a specific time in my life, I thought that when I would gossip or let off steam about situations or people or things in my life, that I was actually moving through something, right? I was releasing this energy, and it was a good thing because it feels kind of good to gossip and to talk like that, right? But one day, I had built this company with these amazing group of people, and one of them came to me and said, "Kamrin, you've got to stop." And she called it black magic, and that's what the book calls it too. And she goes, "Your black magic is killing this company." And I looked at her like flabbergasted, like, what? Like, I of all people, like, how dare you confront me about such a horrific thing? But she like looked me in the eye and she said, "It's gotta stop. Your words are killing this place." And she relayed it back to a conversation I'd had with somebody, and it opened my eyes to see how much energy I put into gossiping and talking bad about situations I don't like, thinking that like somehow it's making it better, when actually it's making it 100 times worse. It's a lot like, all of those shows where people come into a superhero power and then they have to like spend the whole series trying to figure out how to use it because like in the beginning they're just fumbling through everything and they're messing it all up. I kind of look at faith this way. Like we understand little bits of it, but we don't even have a clue how we're generating everything that's happening in our entire existence. And when I sit with myself or when I sit with a client, I always look at this and I say, okay, you may not believe me when I say you can have anything you want in life and that life is basically just waiting for you to mold it. But look at what you've done already with the black magic. Look at how just on the default mode, you have created a life, because typically if they're in my office, their lives are really going to crap in that moment. But I'm like, you've created all of this. You are a master and you didn't even know it. If you can do that with the negative, imagine what you are capable of creating if you just switch that and use it for white magic instead. I have a story that would probably take me an hour to tell you. I'm going to do my best to get this story out as fast as I can. Imagine me. I am, I think, 22 years old, so this was back in 2002. Just graduated my bachelor's program, and this is my greatest demonstration of faith. In my whole life, I've never used faith this way before. I decided that I would go to New York City where I would become a man, right? Because that's what people do. When they're ready to take on their lives, New York City, that's the place to do it. I wasn't going to live there or anything. I just wanted to go and see what happened when I got there. I'd never been. I don't think I've even flown onto the East Coast by that point. So here I was this young kid, Utah bubble, thought that, I could do anything with my life and be just fine. Didn't have a lot of reasons to be scared. I was just like, hey, I'm a college graduate. I'm going to New York. Who cares that I don't have a place to stay and I don't have any money and I have no idea what I'm going to do when I get there? I'm just going to go. And I would tell people about this all the time, and I'd talk about it, and I'd build it up about how excited I was, and nobody believed that I was that dumb. And so they would just smile and placate me, and oh, sounds great. And I was serious. Well, it got closer to the day, and I met this guy. He didn't know who I was. I met him at a group, and I was telling this story, and he looked at me, and he goes, "You're serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I lived in New York, and it will chew you up and spit you out. Nobody will see you again." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, thanks for telling me that. I'll be careful." And I was like, the plane tickets are bought, right? I had $30 to my name after I bought those tickets, and I was just going to eat at McDonald's once a day for that week. And I thought, sleeping in Central Park, I'm a Boy Scout, I sleep outside, homeless people do it. It can't be that hard. And so I was just going to figure it out. Well, he freaked out on me and flew with me to New York and put me up in a hotel that night while he figured out what he was going to do with me. Then he found a friend to let me stay at his place while he went on vacation. So overnight, I have a flat in New York City all to myself, fully stocked with food, and I get to go adventure and see everything the city has to offer. I have it made. My friend decides to stay a couple more days, visit his parents who live on Fifth Avenue, brings me along. They're richer than God, and they take me everywhere. I get to see all the nicest restaurants. I went to 3 Broadway musicals. I got their season pass to the Met, which was a block away from their house, and got to spend a few days in the museum. I was in heaven, and it just kept coming. Well, the guy came home from vacation a little early, kicked me out of the apartment in New York City fashion. "Sorry, kid, I'm home. You got to get out." And I'm just like, "But it's cold." Now I know what I'm set up for. I've been wandering around the city for 4 days, and now I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be scared because that place is nuts out there. And I'm like, oh crap. So I you know how in the movies, all the dramatic scenes, it's always raining? I kid you not, it was raining. Okay, and I have my suitcase, and I'm walking down New York City with a suitcase in the rain. And I'm like, well, this sucks. And I'm trying to find a place to just sit, and I see this sign, and it's this advertisement for this one-man show, Confessions of a Mormon Boy. I'm like, oh, Mormon, nice people are probably going to be there. I'm going to go that way. So I just follow these signs. And I get into the theater 2 hours before the show's supposed to start, and I'm just sitting there with my suitcase, and people start walking in for the show, and this whole group of gay men walk in. They do this activity once a month where they go out on the town and do whatever. This was their activity for the month. I tell them my story. They freak out like everybody else does, and they're like, "You are not going back out on those streets alone." They bought me a ticket. I got to see the show. I got to go on dinner with them all over the city. They showed me around. And then one of them took me back to New Jersey and showed me the outskirts of New York for the rest of the 3 days. Fed me, showed me the sights. It was amazing. The thing that is so great about this story is I had no idea I was using faith through that entire process. I expected good things all the time. I expected that things were going to go my way. I love this quote by Ernest Holmes. "Practice a life of continuous communion with good." I was doing that, and I didn't even know it. I was trusting that life would provide, and it did. I was trusting that people were good, and they were. I was trusting that nothing could go wrong, and it didn't. Yes, I was a naive, probably not the smartest kid in the world doing it, but the principle still worked. And now if I were to try to recreate that at this age, probably would backfire a little bit, but at the same time, same principle, right? So Prayer is a really important part of this whole equation that I feel I would be remiss if I didn't pull in. And this definition of prayer is so important when we're looking at faith and how to use it appropriately. In the Living as the Science of Mind, it says, prayer in its truest sense is not a petition, not a supplication, not a wall of despair. It is rather an alignment and a unifying process which takes place in the mind as it reaches to the divine self and to that power which is greater than human understanding. I'm going to leave that up so you can just read it a few more times, because there is so much good in that. When I came to this philosophy back in 2004, like Linda was talking about, this was the thing that kept me here, because I was so frustrated. I didn't understand prayer. I didn't understand faith. How come I can say these things and beg God and plead in like abject poverty and humiliation, and still nothing happens the way that I expected it's going to? This philosophy and this version of prayer woke me up, and I realized I'd been doing it wrong all along. So, as we continue to train our brains to see this in a much different way, what I would invite you to do is understand why prayer is so important when we're using it with faith. Because prayer then changes faith into something good, something that we want and something that benefits us. People that use faith in this way live 10 years longer. It's a big difference. They're more happy. They have a higher emotional intelligence, and they have lower levels of anxiety and depression overall. I don't know if you've met someone that has this kind of faith in the good things of life, but they are so contagious to be around, and their lives are so serendipitous. And even when they don't look serendipitous, like my New York story, even when it took a little dip, guess what? Right back in the game 2 seconds later. These people know how to use this power, and some of them, like me, don't even know that they're actually using it. These are 3 of my favorite people who have used faith in this way. My homegirl, Oprah. Oh, God, love that woman. She went from abject poverty to ruling the world, right? This is like she owns the place now and doing a fine job of that. Siddhartha, the Buddha, went the other direction. He already ruled the world, and he chose to leave that into abject poverty and humiliation. One isn't better than the other, right? It's just each of them followed their path. They're following what they know is true inside, regardless of what life gave them initially. They did it themselves and didn't let anyone tell them they couldn't have it any other way. And same with Gandhi. Born into a class system that he had it made, he could have lived a life of education and prestige, and he chose to give that all up to change the world. Now, I would wager that if they can do it, we can do it, and yet why don't we? Is a big question that goes across my mind all the time. And I'm sorry, I have to do this because it's so relevant, and we gotta laugh at the things that make us cry. But look at the way that our president does this. Have you ever seen anyone in your whole life that can completely ignore what the entire world tells him and create his own reality? You have every news network, even the one that's supposed to support him, saying, yeah, you said this, but you said that a minute ago, and you're saying you didn't say that, but here's your face, and here's your voice. And he's like, I don't care, and he just keeps going. And the man is running the country. So I'm telling you, like, no matter how you want to look at this, it's a power that can be used by anyone and be used effectively. And these are the results that we see, for good or for ill. Now, I want to give you a gift, something that you can take away from this experience. This is a meditation that I do that helps me to recalibrate. So that exercise that we did in the beginning, this is the one that I want to follow up with. So that positive, negative scale. So if you guys could all please join me, get comfortable, hands in your laps, feet on the floor. Just feel the energy that's inside of you. Feel what you're creating. Feel what you put on that scale. And I want you to put out in front of you as many TV screens as you need to. And I want you to look at each screen And I want you to take whatever's in you and put it on that screen as if you are projecting your future based on what you're feeling and believing now into a future. What is it creating? What kind of relationships is it creating? What occupation is it creating? What love is it creating for you? And play it out on the screen and watch it for what it is right now. Not what you want it to be, but what your feeling and your belief system are telling you you're creating it to be. Feel that, and I'll just give you a minute to put them up all on the screens there. And now, as you watch each of those screens slide up in front of you, bring it back to your heart and think, what do I want to be on those screens instead? And see the picture as it fades or changes the storyline of the current image. Or maybe if you reach and you twist the dial and it turns to a new station, change it. Use your faith. You're already using it negatively in some ways. Change the ones you want different. And as you look at those images, notice how everything in you responds and comes to life. Notice how that feeling is the greatest creative potential in the universe. And it exists inside of you. And after all of your screens are changed, I invite you now to bring them back into your being. Integrate, merge, and allow them to be yours, because they are. And as I say this prayer, this affirmative action, I will say it for myself, and I will put it up on the screen so you can say it along with me. So if you choose, it can be your prayer as well. I take a breath and breathe in the peace of faith. I know that everything I am has inherent within it the creative power of God. I join with this power now and release all fear from my heart, my words, and my mind. This power that runs through all of life now operates on my behalf and for my good. I choose now to commune with this good and to make of it my constant companion. I call forth the manifestation of all the joy my soul can hold, all the success my imagination can conjure, and all the love my life can cultivate. I forgive myself for any misuse of this power and the painful experiences that have come from my ignorance. I embrace my power and know I have the wisdom and knowledge to move beyond any areas where I might feel bound to an unmovable fate. I trust in my resiliency to shine the way for me to walk this perfect path. I now align myself with this highest and best, knowing it is done as I have spoken it, releasing my word to the law of the universe to facilitate the perfect outcome. And so it is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I give. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so
Blessed. Kamrin, thank you so much. That was just amazing. I'm inspired and uplifted, and not heading to New York City. Because I'm older and wiser than you were and have faith in things not that. So this is our time of conscious giving, which in our center is a spiritual practice, something that we do for our own spiritual health and well-being. As we are having our services remotely in order to keep a lot of us safe and well, we are grateful that those of you who are continuing to support our center financially, because it goes on here and we pay for this space, and so it's really great. We know that some of you are experiencing hardships because of lost jobs and so forth, and we completely understand. But we really thank you for those of you who are continuing to support the center. I invite you right now to bring your gift into your mind, your hand, or your heart, and say with us the giving affirmation. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Filled with gratitude, I let this be, and so it is.
All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me. I've been set free, I'm released. I've been set free, I'm released. The burden of my past has gone away at last. I've been set free, I'm released. All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. A light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. Yes. Now we'll hear some more from Shemaine Charette.
This song is called Tell Your Heart to Beat Again, and it's one of those where you're in a down place, and the first step to having faith that you can create something different is just to believe it's possible. So this is the kind of self-talk that gets me going.
You're shattered like you've never been before. The life you knew in 1,000 pieces on the floor. And words fall short in times like these, when this world drives you to your knees. You think you're never gonna get back to the you that used to be. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been, and tell your heart to beat again.
have pulled you through. So get back up, take step one. Leave the darkness, feel the sun. 'Cause your story's far from over, and your journey's just begun. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been, and tell your heart to beat again. Let every heart break and every scar be a picture that reminds you who has carried you this far. 'Cause love sees farther than you ever could. In this moment, heaven's working everything for your good. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been, and tell your heart to beat again. Your heart to beat again. Beat again. So tell your heart to beat again.
Yeah, I told you. Oh, thank you, Shemaine. And thank you, Kamrin. What a wonderful day, huh? It is a new beginning. So feel that faith in you, born again. Don't forget our live chat following this service, 1 o'clock. Tune in with Reverend Hurst and enjoy that time connecting with those maybe you haven't seen in a while. Thank you so much for joining us today. Those who are here and those who tuned in, have a wonderful, blessed week. Let's sing our closing song together. Together, we can change the world.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Humanity is calling to the ones who hear, whose vision is clear, where the veil of fear is falling, who pick up the pieces that are crushing down. The time is now. We came here to do
Together. Together. Together.
Together, we can change the world. 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 Together.
Speak.